Okay, welcome. This is going to be our draft analysis for Moss Deep Pokemon Champions League Season 7. We're so grateful for everyone that signed up. We have 28 teams this time around, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. And here is our panel. So first we have Taylan, we have
Hi.
Josh, and we have Freddie.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hey.
We are going to be our panel. We're going to go through each team. We're going to look at a few different parameters and sort of thoughts and feelings for each team. So we're going to be looking at offense, defense, your hazard setting and removing, your sort of momentum and pivot options, and also just our general thoughts and feelings. So, we ready? We're gonna ready to crack open this sort of. I don't know where I was going with that metaphor. Let's just jump right.
Well, I'm good to go.
Okay, so our final and favorite conference, Conference Surf. Let's go. So we'll start with the Hammerlock Punch Crows. New, they're new here in the MPCL, so we'll have a look at their team. So thoughts straight away. This team is interesting. Corviknight Ursaluna are really good. They're really good in terms of like physical damage, but also in taking hits. But this team has a few type weaknesses that I think are going to be problematic. So fighting, I immediately noticed is it's not great against fighting. It's got Gengar and Celebi.
Gengar and Celebi, yeah. And both can still threaten. And Delphox. I think this team's pretty fine against fighting.
Um,
Uh,
I think a bigger problem that it has is
it's water. That's the issue type
water
here.
is an issue.
Because it's just Appleton as a resist.
Yeah.
There's Detonator. Like,
No, Detonator's neutral.
Oh yeah, my bad. Sorry, my bad.
It's quite threatening offensively. Thorns, Gengar, Swellow, and Ursaluna in particular are all very strong offensively. Corv and Celebi make a nice defensive call, but they're both weak to fire.
Fire is also a bit of an issue because really you could do with a good water type on this team.
Yeah, but lack of a bulky water is like an issue here.
But it's not a bad team. Like this team can definitely do work.
It's not. That team, Ursaluna is very scary, and Corviknight is just always good.
So I think it really comes down to how you play it because these three, Corviknight, Ursaluna, and Celebi, I think are really easy to play wrong. Celebi, you've always got to be careful of a U-turn just destroying
Yeah.
you. Ursaluna
I've had a whole season of playing Ursaluna wrong.
It's slow, so you've really got to make sure the environment's right for it. And Corviknight, a lot of this team rests on Corviknight defensively.
Yeah, especially as far as ground type.
Especially defensive. There's nothing with more than 110 split F. And that's hit on top.
I mean, special defense Celebi is good enough.
I will say, like, I did fight this team, like last week, and they're very, quite prone to just getting set up on because like they haven't got like the most like options to punish like Pokemon that set up, especially like agility sweepers. Like, is really scary into this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any like hazes or like whirlwind Pokemon. Really.
It has mons that can take hits, and it has like decent defense options, but some of the utility that we'd normally like to see isn't quite there.
Yeah.
But it's not terrible. It's actually quite a good team.
Yeah, it's got good speed tiers. And a nice combination of physical and defensive special attackers.
I think with that Gengar, Gengar seems quite scary. Sort of it could if left unchecked, it could do some damage against another team.
Understatement of the century, my brother. That thing is terrifying.
Understatement. Oh damn! I didn't know the extent. Jeez.
I got messed up by one of them last season. We don't talk about that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think there's another Pokemon coming up, which I don't want to talk about too much.
Yeah, this team, it's good. It has a few like niggles, as we said, water,
Yeah.
few type
A
weaknesses.
lot of these teams could be like drastically improved by just like one trade kind of thing in like Division 2.
And this team is a team that I actually think is pretty tricky to play, but it's got so much
Yeah,
potential. So much potential.
yeah, it does. I just think Pokemon like Ursaluna are kind of high skill ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the Hammerlocks can pull it off, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Our next team is the Drift Veil Dozers, which already
No.
has had the quickest game in history.
Yeah.
This team is. I actually really like this team. Defensively,
Yeah.
it is going to be hard to break. Like,
This is very much like a more bulky defensive balance team.
Unaware Skeledirge, Alomomola, Bronzong, Toadscruel, even Mega Altaria. Mew does literally everything.
And even the tier 5s are bulky. Skuntank, Caracosta, Poliwrath, they've all got decent defensive stats.
Yep. So defensively, this team is not getting broken, and it has really good setup potential with Calm Mind Mew, Torch Song Skeledirge, Dragon Dance Mega Altaria. There is
Yeah,
only
like
one problem this team has that I think's immediately evident, and that's these speed tiers.
yeah, you can tell from like the bulk of this team because it doesn't really want to be fast. A lot of its big threats are very bulky in their own right anyway. But
Yeah,
it does mean a lot of Pokemon can just like run adamant or modest on it and not be scared of to set up if like they have a good matchup against Excel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just also think the pivot means that this team is often going to be on the back foot because they're going to be out.
Alomomola is a very good pivot. Now it has Flip Turn though.
They have pivot options. It's just that they're slower, which
Yeah,
sometimes
slow
is
pivot
good.
isn't bad though.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah,
It just means that
but I
this
think
team
it's a
is.
team that on the surface looks very passive, but when you look into it a lot more, you realize just how much potential it has for sweeps.
Oh yeah,
A lot of
Mew,
these Pokemon can spiral.
Mew, Skeledirge, Mega Altaria. This is stall setup style. If I'm going to be honest, for anyone going against it,
Yeah,
like
it's got stall set up with
you give this
Alomomola to keep the team healthy.
you give this team like 2 turns and it's just over.
Give it one
Yeah,
turn
you
with Telsmart Caracosta.
give
Yeah,
it one turn with Dragon Dance Altaria even.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Another thing for that team, I was going to say, I think Bronzong with Trick Room, Skeledirge, if not prepared for that, that could take people off guard if they decide to run it.
this team
It
has
does
so
actually
much
have the
trick room
potential as Trick
potential.
Room. Yeah, and Mew can set it if it wants to and pivot out.
Yeah, Mew is actually the only thing that doesn't really like trick room other than Excelga because it's a bit too fast.
Electros can really like thrive in Trick Room actually.
Oh yeah. And this team's got good utility options. It's got Wish, it's got Spore, it's
Yeah,
got
it's
everything.
got hazards from Bronzong and Mew and Toadscruel.
Like,
Toadscruel is the main rank spin here because like you've got Defog Skuntank if you want it and Defog Mega Altaria, but and Mew because Mew does everything, but it's not like what you want to be relying on. So it's good that they have the hazard clear option in Toadscruel.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I look at this team, I'm just like, what does it not do?
It's a very nice, slow balanced team.
Yeah.
And now we have the Black City Bruxish. So you're gonna have to cover your ears for a little bit for this one, Jordan.
As we rate your team,
I mean, you're gonna get a good rating.
it's a good team, yeah. Coco Ogapon, very scary. Mamoswine is the hardest Pokemon to prep for in draft. at least my opinion of it.
Like nothing switches in on it.
Nope. There are no
Empoleon,
safe switches to Mamoswine,
Empoleon,
except for like Bronzong.
Empoleon has so much utility now. It's actually ridiculous, and it has sweep potential.
Because of Defiant, no competitive. That's what it gets now.
Hasn't Empoleon gone up in a tier not too long ago?
I think it was a tier 4 at one point.
Yeah, but I think it's gone up recently.
It's now in tier 3 because of Roost.
Yeah,
Roost and competitive make it better.
And then defensively, some of the options you've got lower down: Seismitoad, Quillfish, Hisui, Altaria, Araquanid, Sliggoo. That's a lot of bulk.
It is. You've got lots of bulky options, and you can run Empoleon bulky if you want to.
I don't think you even need to on this team, though.
You don't, but you have the option to.
And that's what's good about it, is that you have so many modes this team can do. Like, some teams you look at it and you're like, okay, you're bringing the same 5 or
this
6
team
each
has a
week.
playstyle it just has to go for. This team is one where it can go for whatever playstyle it needs to in a game. Coco is very versatile as a pivot. Ogapon is more offensive, but you can run it like setup or pivot if you want to. Same with Empoleon. Well, there are very few Pokemon on this team that do one thing and one thing only.
hmm
Speeds, nice. You've got Coco and Ogapon for your higher speeds. And then
You don't need
Slacking is
much
filling
more
a
than
speed
that.
tier. You know,
Slacking's
but
been,
it's got a nice ladder on the way down as well.
yeah. So, like, you've
Every
got a lot
speed
of
tier
things
is
that would
filled.
outspeed and be in that sort of middle bracket between like 80 to 100.
Yeah. It's
Jordan,
an overlooked bracket oftentimes.
do you want to say any thoughts about your decisions building the team, Jordan?
Well, building the team, this was not my original team at all. I've had a lot of trades to get it to where it is now, and even still, I'm not the happiest with it. I feel like Sagitar can be switched with something better. Same with Mr. Mime and Sliggoo. But for the most part, I'm quite happy with the potential that this team has.
I think you've done an incredible job. I actually think this is one of the best ones we've seen all evening, and I think there's no perfect draft team anyway, but this is pretty close to it.
Thank you.
Freddie, any thoughts?
Well, if the Sliggoo, if you don't want the Sliggoo, I can take it. I'm gonna need a bulky dragon type.
You need a
we can
dark
trade out.
type, mister. You should be looking for the Quillfish.
No, I may keep that dark type vulnerability open just for a laugh to make life difficult.
Whatever you say. Yeah, great team. Think you're going to do well with it, Jordan.
Thank you. Okay.
Now on to the potentially malicious Mudkips. I don't know how I feel about this one yet.
Well, we haven't seen it play yet, have we?
No, we have not.
So, yeah, it's the most unknown quantity right now.
I'm not very biased towards it.
Defensively, it's alright. You kind of rely on Drapion as your ghost resist, but it's a nice variety of types here. You've got plenty of non-grounded Pokemon to cover the ground weakness, and you've got Magnezone to trap the steel types that would want to kill Mega Diancie.
Yeah, that's a huge tech,
Very
actually,
nice
having that.
interaction.
Latias is really good here. Yeah, it's got decent bulk, but also these are all options that would love to set up.
Oh, Mega Diancie, all it needs is like one rock polish and it can just run through a whole game. It is such a threatening Pokemon.
It's a huge threat.
You've got Lucario for your priority and Bruxish. Flygon's a nice support Pokemon with Defog and U-turn. Togekiss is the same, you can wish up. Like, Togekiss is very nice wish support for Mega Diancie, actually.
Or
Even
just
if they
click air
share
slash and
weaknesses.
flinch 60% of the time.
Kara flinch, Toga kiss.
Yeah,
No.
I'm glad I'm not facing that. And I'm
Yeah.
glad no one picked Jirachi.
Yep.
I was very tempted by that. But no, this team it's got lots of
Speed
options
tiers.
that support Mega Diancie and Latias.
Yeah. Speed tiers are alright. A top speed of 110 is fairly decent, and two 110s is alright. You've got Flygon for the 100, and then a nice ladder down from there.
It does mean though, because those are both mons that either can't or don't want to use a scarf most of the time. So it does mean that you're
A
probably
lot of the
losing
faster Pokemon are happy. But
your
at the same time, they both can set up with agility or rock polish.
yeah.
So it's not like you're just guaranteed to be faster.
You don't have to seed the speed game, but you often will, I think.
Yeah, but this team is very good priority users to make up for that.
And
With
boosting options.
Bruxish, yeah, with Bruxish, Lucario, and Drapion, you've got good priority there. The
Like
only
Bruxish
slight
price,
comment I'd say is the team's hazard setting isn't very good, but it doesn't look like a team that would want to be in the long game anyway.
No, I don't think it would be. It's gonna kind of set up and go for the throat.
Yeah,
And anything that's left over, Lucario just cleans. So I think it's a good team.
Yep.
Definitely a more aggressive play style.
I think it's more aggressive balance, but it's still balanced
Yeah.
and still like a nice, well-rounded team.
I think that Marchon for there is just for aesthetics. He's it. Look at
It's
his
for
card. He's there for the
it's for
card.
aesthetics, but it's like the only good hazard setter here because you don't want to run hazards on Mega Diancie really.
Yeah.
And it'll be deceptively a deceptively good bulky pivot with Eviolite. You can't just sleep on Marshtomp. It
I
might do things.
actually would bring Marstock to a lot of games with this team.
If it has flip time, like if it has flip time, it goes crazy.
It does, I think.
It's insane. It's the best.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a really funny setup with Tidy Up now.
Yeah. So good team. I think they've
I
done
like
quite
that
well.
team.
This team is certainly an interesting one.
Valiant Megazard is immediately a very scary combo.
This has to be the most offensive team we've seen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Valiant, Megazard, Taunty.
Thunderous,
Like,
Rabombi.
Bombi for sticky webs. This is just the hyper offense team.
And then Whimsicott for Prankster Tailwind.
Thanks to
Like,
Tailwind.
it's very rare that you're going to like be winning a speed tie, like the speed war in this against this team.
Yeah, that's not the Thunderous that gets Prankster, but
No, the
Whimsicott gets it.
Whimsicott.
Yeah,
The
Whimsicott gets
Whimsicott's
it.
the Prankster one.
But yeah, like,
Yeah, and you got.
ooh,
It's not without its bulk either. You got Primarina there to take the hits, and Muck. It's less bulky on the physical side, but being able to take special hits is the most important thing to support Valiant.
Interestingly, though, flying is a huge weakness to this team.
Yeah, the only flying resists are Thunderous and Berserker.
Bramblegast
And
gets Wind
Thunderous is
Rider.
quite threatening to flying types, but it's not got the most longevity.
This is a team that, like, again, if it hasn't killed you by turn 20, it's losing.
Yeah, Poison's another big weakness here.
Poison is because Muck is the only thing that can stop a poison. So
Muck
Poison,
no, not just stopping it. I mean, like offensive poison types, because all of the defensive options are tier 5.
yeah. Well, not only just like offensive poison, but also just statuses hurt this team a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that does not want to be paralyzed or burn.
Does Whimsicott get aromatherapy? If there's a cleric here, it's better.
I don't know because it's not on the default options.
Okay.
But it really could deal with a cleric if it doesn't have one. Again, this team is, I think, hyper offense is better with less experienced players. So I think this team might actually do okay.
Yeah. Hyper offense is very much just a click the massive damage move, and you will make progress. And
But
I
I
think
can
this team is
definitely,
going to be very threatening because if you just lead the Bombi with sticky webs, you're immediately at such an advantage.
I do also see this team struggling though if it comes up against because there's quite a few bulky balanced teams that we've already seen in this conference.
Yeah,
So we'll see how that plays out.
but I think this team is still very, very threatening.
Oh yeah.
And I think the new More Villains has one of my favorite teams.
Oh, yeah, they got the Bax Gloking. That's just Excalibur, Gloking, Starmery. That is just absolutely terrifying. The group of
It's
Pokemon right there.
Yeah, Baxcalibur, I got swept 06 by that. So yeah, he's on my he's in my death note.
Yeah.
but like it has
This
so
is
much bulk, like floor. You can tell that Josh helped
another
build this.
Sandaconda's Florges core.
I wonder why that's there.
I wonder if Josh helped build this team.
But like it has so much bulk, but then at the same time, you flip the switch and suddenly you have Gyarados and Baxcalibur down your throat and Typhlosion
Yeah.
Hisui.
And this team is like deceptively slow because Typhlosion Hisui likes to scarf. Gyarados and Excalibur can both Dragon Dance, and suddenly they're faster than whatever you speed crept the Zoroark. And
And
even Phalanx can increase its speed.
the fact that there's a Zoroark as well also makes this difficult to build around because if it's a
Suddenly you
defensive,
can't just be sure to click the Ghost type move on Glowking, for example.
yeah, but
Or a
like
Typhlosion Hisui, I think would be the best one to disguise Zoroark as here.
there are so many good options to disguise as. You can either pick something slow and get a cheeky offensive move off, or
Yeah.
you can use like
This,
immunities and resists.
yeah, and you can't even like T-Wave the setup sweepers out because you've got the Cleric in Florges.
Yep.
This is very much a team that will just like pivot around and buy its time, and then suddenly they've taken the one turn they need to set up, and you're going to get swept.
Pretty much. And type wise, there's no
The
rocks is
Rocks
a
resist is
little bit,
kind of an issue. You're basically forced to run boots, and you've got two very good defoggers and Lurantis.
but I think it'll be fine over the course of the whole season.
Yeah, that's a very, very threatening team.
Especially
That's
because you're probably not going to bring Glalie and Baxcalibur in the same week.
no. I
And
think Lately probably doesn't need to be there, being honest.
probably not, but like it doesn't, the fact that it's there doesn't really, it's just kind of there. Like it
This team
doesn't
is very
hurt the
good
team.
without Lately. It's just like basically a free trade for another tier 5 if you feel like you need a different part.
Yeah. I don't worry so much about type matchups if it's a tier 5s because they don't come every week.
No.
And I think this is our final team.
This is it.
A lot of the old gen starters, you got Infernape, Swampert, Venusaur. It's good to see some familiar faces.
Got the Blastoise Blizzards.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think any Pokemon's above Gen 5 in that team.
I think you're right.
I mean, Mega Swampert's like technically Gen 6, but
If you want to get pedantic about it,
yeah, that is a very much a legacy team.
yeah,
And it shows because it has some major weaknesses type wise.
I'm a big fan of the Wormadam in the back.
Yeah, you get every form, get every Wormadam.
Yeah. Unironically, that's his only steel type.
Yeah.
So I unironically think Wormadam should come to lots of games.
I mean, it's got
You've
like
got Venus to eat Toxic and Toxicroak as well.
This team just have issues though, because look at the ground, flying, and psychic.
Yeah.
Like, particularly because so your walls
You've
are
got
like what?
you've got one removal Pokemon and it's Aerodactyl.
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
So that's a bit of an issue. It's got a lot of offensive, like Garchomp, Infernape, Mega Swampert, Aerodactyl, Jolteon. There's a lot of offense here, but I feel like if you can just pivot round, there's defensively a lot of issues.
Mm. I feel like we didn't get to see this team in full action, considering it got swept like 10-2 first game that it goes in.
I think that's just kind of
Unfortunate.
highlights it though. That kind of highlights the problems. Like Fairy does
Yeah.
quite well into a lot of this team. Ground does well into a lot of this team.
So does Dragon.
Dragon, there's no Dragon. I mean, you've got Gardevoir as your Dragon resist because it's Fairy, but there's still a lot of issues. And there's nothing at base that really hits hard enough either. Like everything's got to kind of set up to be a big threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, your only proper breaker is Mega Swampert.
Chomp. Chomp hits hard.
Tom hits hard, but it
Yeah.
needs to set up.
And you can't forget about Quiver and Wormadam. Like, I know we need to set up, but like it's the biggest threat.
Of course. So like this team has potential as well. Mega Swampert is one that I'm just like, does that really fit here?
Hmm.
The man,
Yeah, because you only have Garchomp as like just a very good ground type.
So I feel
I
like
do think this team really needs some different hazard play because we haven't seen it in a long game yet. But against any team that wants to set lots of hazards, it will have real trouble if Aerodactyl goes down, and it probably will if it wants to use Defog because it has so many weaknesses.
you know what this team could actually do with a Xatu?
I see it.
A flying
Yeah, I
type
see
with
it.
Magic Bounce. I just don't
And
think
a
it needs
Defog.
Mega Swampert as well.
Yeah,
Especially because you're not getting used to Swift Swim.
Yeah.
Like Mega Swampert is in that tier because it gets Swift Swim. If you're not using that, it's really not worth the tier slot.
Also, as well, like a Lele would go quite nice into this team.
Yeah. So there's definitely potential, but it does need a few reworks.
Yeah.
I think with that team also, if you're not careful, and say you allow Garchomp to set up a Dragon's Dance, then you're going to be in a bit of trouble, if you haven't got that checked.
yeah. Garchomp is just always threatening. Like all it needs is a Swords Dance and a Scale Shot, and it's just got to go through a team.
Yeah.
But
There's definitely it's not a
well, this
not
team
threatening team.
is immediate pressure.
Yeah.
Like Scarf Gardevoir could do that, but the rest is more utility Pokemon almost because
There's nothing
Garchomp can do everything, but
there's nothing that makes you go, oh crap, how do I deal with this?
yeah, because
You know?
Swampert would do that if there was rain for it. Well, because there isn't, it's a lot easier to send in like a grass type, knowing you'll only have to take one hit from it.
Yeah. So that concludes Conference Surf. I think overall, there's a lot of teams that are just missing something.
Yeah.
They're close, but they're just missing something. But it's going to be very
Yeah.
interesting to see how all of these
I
teams
think as the
do.
season progresses, I think a lot of these teams are going to get like way better with just one trade
Oh yeah.
as their captains learn the team and learn their playstyle.
Yeah.
So that concludes our draft analysis for Season 7. There's going to be a lot of good teams. I have no idea who's going to come out on top. We have so many new players, new coaches, new strategies. I think it's going to be hype, and I'm really excited to see how things go. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time for our mid-season review.